In this video, we will talk about how to create a sequential file object so we can access that either to read or write. So like earlier we said, in order to access a file, you need to include the ifstream library. After you include ifstream library, you can create two different objects. So if you want to write to the sequential file, you need to create an ofstream object. So to create the ofstream object, you can have a default constructor without specifying which file it is. Or you can do is you can just create your ofstream object with your object name. Then you have two arguments in the default in the constructor. So the first one, you can specify your file name as a string. So then you need to specify how you will read or write, how you want to open this file. So for example, now if I want to create a text file called clients.txt file, and I want to write to the file, so you will do the input string :out. That means your output to the file. So in this statement, you specify your object type is ofstream. So the object name is out client files. So you can see here, when we have the file name to specify, you need to have double quote. So then the second parameter is how you want to access this file. So we want to write to the file. So how to process the file, you have many other ways. So here we will show you in C++11, you have different modes how to access your file. So then if we just want to open a file for output, you do :out. So you want to, for the input, you want to read from the file, you do the in. So then sometime after you open the file, right, you want to write the information to the end of the file. So you can append your output to the end of the file. So you do the app append. And also you can just start, if you don't specify, actually they will just, if you do the out just like this, actually they just mean they will start writing from the beginning. Or you can specify as a truncate. So that means you just discard all the file content. So that will be the same as your out. So those things mostly is for the sequential file, that means the text file. So if you want to write as a binary file, so then you need to specify ios : binary. So this one is later, we will use that for the random access file mode. So that's referred to the example 1. So this example 1, we will ask the user to enter the account, number, name, and the balance. So then if the user enter the end of the file marker to end input. So each new input will use a question mark at the beginning. So you can see that's from the user input. So actually each line after we read from the user input, we will write to our text file. So here's after user enters 7 data, so then they finish. So we want to talk about how to create the end of the file marker in different operating systems. So for the Mac system or the Unix system, you're using the Ctrl+D. So that's end of marker input from the user. But from the Windows system, you need to use the Ctrl+Z. So after we read from the user input, so we write to our clients.txt file. So you will see the result like that. So you can see the example from here. So that's why here we need to specify or need to include the ifstream and fstream. So since we read as a string, so then we input the string. So here you will see when we create an ofstream object, so at the same time we specify the file name. So then we will read as output. So remember, when you're using the iOS.out, that means you have that. If this file already exists, they will overwrite everything. So most of the time, after we create this file string object, we will check. Because sometimes because your permission, user permission, the file access permission, maybe they cannot really access or cannot be created. So sometimes maybe your location or the permission from the user. So this one is the file object. So this file object, if not returned correctly, the value can be opened. So that's why we do the not true. So that's why they will just print out the error message to the user. So to state, actually, we cannot really open that file. So this is good usage you need to include, because sometimes, especially when we try to read the file, you may not be able to find the file. So we need to know the file cannot be opened. So then we just exit. Okay, so if the file object create correctly, so that's why that's prepared for the user input. So that's why we tell the user, please enter the account name balance. So then we were using so here actually we not read line by line, because also we want to show you how you would write to your file. So as we say, since we want the user enter the account number, name, and the balance, so each one we just have the int account string for the name. We just assume here the user only enter one word as the name. So then you have the double value for the balance. So then you have your while in, so we read one by one. So this one actually is really depends on how you want to read the information. You can just read using the get line to write your input to your file. Or here we just assume user will input correctly with the int ID, string name, and the balance. So after you see, you can read one by one without any error. So then you can see here, actually, whenever we try to create a ofstream object, this ofstream object actually will work like your cout. So remember earlier, our out client file is an ofstream object, right? So after you create ofstream object, how they work? They work just similar like cout. Just cout is you write to the console. So then ofstream object, they will write to the file object you create. So that's why now I want to write account space name space name with the new line. So then actually here you're just using the insertion operator. So they will write everything into your ofstream object. They just work like the cout. Why? Because remember, cout is one kind of ofstream object, and the ofstream object inherited from the ofstream object. So they just work like that. So that's afterward your file will be created and the output like that. But the most important thing is where's the client.txt file is. So one thing I want you to remind you is, for this class, if any file you want to read or write, please only specify the file name. Do not including any file path. Because one thing is, sometimes you will have your file name as the desktop, then your username and something you have the file path. But those files not exist in my computer. So that's why I cannot really test your program. And also one thing is, usually unless you really know the relative location for the computer system, it's better you only give them the file name. But one thing is, if you have the file name where those files will be created. So when you try to use the file, no matter for the input and output for this course, I'm expecting you to have those files in the working folder. So no path, just the file name. So they are in working folder. So on the other hand, that's mean depends on what your IDE is. So your program should be able to open the file without a path destination. So for Visual Studio, where your project folder is, that's your file is. For the S code will be a little complicated. You need to do right click from the project. So then you're using the show in folder. So you will see where the working directory is. So here you will see where is the file located in Xcode. So when I say the project, actually is this one, your project execution icon. So then you need to have your right click. So then you will see show in Finder. So after you call the show in Finder, they will go to show you where is the working directory under the Xcode. So that's you are expecting your file will be here. Because I didn't create the file yet. Also, okay, so here you will see the client.txt, but now you will see they are 0 byte. The reason is I didn't print anything, they just opened that file. So that's where your working directory. So for the code block, they will be the same thing. They are under your working folder. So usually it's your project folder. Or you can click on this link. They will show you how to find the working directory on the code block. So after we create the clients.txt file, we also can try to read information from the files, right? So if you want to try to read any information from your sequential file, so the same thing like earlier we said, you need to create your ifstream object. So this one is you create the ifstream object. So you have two constructors. You can either have the default constructor without anything, so then later you specify where the file will be open. Or you can explicitly to tell the file name as a string and the mode to open that. So that's why I continue with using the client.txt files. We will see the example 2. So this example 2, you will see we create the ifstream object to open that file. So you can download the same thing, example 2. But you need to make sure you will run example 1 first, because we need to have our client.txt file created. So we still need to include iostream, fstream. But now, since we want to read from the file, you need to create ifstream object. So then specify the file name. Then you see here, because you want to read from the user from the file. So then you specify ios :in. Again, since you want to read this file, the file should be exist first. So if they cannot be opened, they will give you the error message. So after you create your input ifstream object, so how they work, they will be very similar to your cin. So here, the incline file is the ifstream object, right? So when you try to read from the file, so you using the ifstream object, how they work, just like cin. So that's why we create the account variable, name, balance. So here is the header. So then we just read, because when you read one by one until the end of the file marker, they will return false. So then when we read, we just read one by one. You see this one just like cin. So cin, you have each line earlier, we have the account number and the balance. So you just do like that. So after we read one by one, we just print to the console. So that's why here you will see your output like this. Your file originally like this. So when we read one by one, so then we print out from the console. So that's how you will read from your text file.